Thank you all. My name's Jeremy. I'm co-founder and CTO at a local startup, Allstacks, and today I want to talk to you about how AI is the next high-level coding language, and why that means you're probably not going to be automated out of a job anytime soon. So, is it? Okay, there we go. Sorry, technical difficulties still. It's no surprise, AI's taken over coding. If you're not using it, I'm sure there's a dozen people in your office begging you to use it for everything right now. Vendors everywhere telling you how great it is. And the data shows that. So if we look at the data from Google, they're claiming that 25% of their code is written by agents in 2024, 50 in 2025, and it's going to go up to 75%. That's a huge number. And I think it's important to pair that with the idea that the biggest layoff that Google has done recently has only been about 6% of its workforce. Nevertheless, a lot of developers I talk to worry, are they going to get automated out of a job? And honestly, it's the right question to ask. So if you think about AI as a high-level language, though, you start to see that there's some trends in the industry that have happened over decades that we can look at and see what's probably actually going to happen to us as engineers and developers. So because AI is a high-level, if we think of AI as a high-level coding language, there are a lot of parallels. So we can look at historical shifts like Fortran getting people out of writing assembly code, Python getting people out of managing memory directly. And in each of those transformations, something got abstracted away. And that's really important. And AI is doing the same thing. If AI is a high-level coding language, it's pulling us out of the syntax in a lot of cases. And it has some of the same worries, fears, pitfalls, and opportunities. So when people were asked to come out of writing assembly code and start writing in a higher-level language, for decades, people were saying, it's never going to be as good. No one's ever going to write assembly as good as I can. And how many assembly developers do you know? 2? 1, maybe? They're still around. And the trends that happen in all of these transformations, I think, hold when we're talking about AI. And I'll talk about each of those really quickly. So the first is that developers start managing work. They move away from being pure ICs and doing the hands-on coding work and start thinking about the outputs. They focus more on what the code is doing and what it's supposed to do than actually writing the code and being really good at the code. And when that happens, the code itself just becomes an AC. And if we look at some of the customers that we have, we're actually seeing this play out. As developers are getting more and more efficient, we're actually finding that companies are running out of backlog, which is a shocking thing. Because developers are having to take over some of that work and start scoping out work and be more involved in the business side of things. They're having to own the outcomes. The second item here is that the craft of software ends up getting demoted. And I know this might be a little controversial, but some of the smartest engineers I know are some of the brightest at a particular framework and have gone deep and know like a lot of intricate details. However, while that's still important, it just becomes an AC that you own. And as Jonathan was mentioning earlier, as you start defining rules and, as Stephen was mentioning earlier, as you start defining the rules and linting around that, you start building out rules to guide your AI. If we look at C compilers, a similar thing happened. There was about a decade of people saying that this code is crap. And around 10 years into it, it got good, and no one thinks about compilers anymore. The third item, and I think the most important, is that headcount in this industry typically doesn't shrink. It just moves around. And that's really compelling. So even with all of these historical trends of people claiming that, this technology or this language is going to automate people away, it just hasn't. We can see specific jobs going away. So, like I said, no one's writing Fortran or assembly anymore, except for a few select individuals who really enjoy that. But people specialize. People start building the foundations on these foundational technologies, and most of the people shift to higher level things, and in this case, AI. And if you look at the industry trends overall, that plays out. Even through all of these shifts over the last 50 years or so, software engineers continue to increase. Nothing has been able to slow this down. And if you want to stay ahead of the curve, I have kind of three takeaways. Stephen's talk is great about a lot of rules and things you can use to be relevant, but the biggest one, and the one that I would leave you with, is own the outcome of your code. So not just the code itself, not just the lines you're writing, not just the craft, but you're responsible for the business impact and the customer impact of what you're building and delivering. And that's never not been true. It's just the guiding light that keeps you relevant always. So thank you very much.